listening to Radio Flange Goblet, which probably means you've slightly more teeth than an average person, and maybe, occasionally, when no one else is looking, you dunk your danglies into a Tupperware container of kumquat marmalade. I know I do. Coming up at 9 p.m, it's the Wash Harold Stint moment, and hot on its heels, we've got more from Lenny Twizzle and his drugged-up puffins. But right now, you know what time it is. It's time for the After Movie Diner, the show the Pet Bugle Flippertown called a handy weapon if you've run out of quickly whittled poking devices. This week, the show comes from a renowned and thoroughly polished eatery in Stoke-on-Tees, where Chef Alan has produced some of the most pungent deviled eggs you've ever had the misfortune to sit next to on a long bus journey behind a loud Bee Gees fan and the owner of a wasp bucket. This charming two-level restaurant is always, and just for the hell of it, ablaze. But it's all part of the fun as you dine while watching the Royal Auxiliary Close Harmony yodelers from Aberdeen attempt to put out the inferno by flapping their kilts at it and with the mighty power of Highland song. Peregrine Nipples from the Times recommends avoiding the boiled scrod, but did have marginally passable words to say about the shaved mongoose toes on a bed of dried woodlouse. It's not the flavour you'll enjoy so much, he writes, but the horror of seeing such a thing on your plate will at least put you off the fact that your date's ears are on fire.
You're listening to the After Movie Diner with your host, Jon Cross.
Yes, that's right. I am Jon Cross. Don't get up. Hello, ladies, germs, small poodles, a goat with diphtheria, those two lice twins from Omaha that tune in occasionally, defrocked members of the clergy still coming down from those iced buns, beer, and heroin binges, Jeffrey Nagasaki, winner of the How Wide Is My Face Prize, Florida 2013, and any middle-aged owners of cardwood and sailor ornaments or porcelain depicting pastoral scenes of hunting that still live at home and eat packet mashed potato. Welcome, and you can add the hot water now. Before we get started with this week's show, a reminder that you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/aftermoviediner. That's Patreon, patreon.com/aftermoviediner, and not only get some great rewards, but get the personal reward of knowing you paid it forward once. You can then smugly lord your goodness over all your friends at your next monthly backgammon and sour skittles social. You can also go to aftermoviediner.com and click on the Amazon link in the top right-hand corner before you do your Amazon shopping. It costs you absolutely no extra, but for everything you buy, Amazon kicks us a few shiny coins. Finally, you can go to miskplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com. That's misk, M-I-S-C, plumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com, and buy the latest album from Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures, Former Glory, which features the wondrous Dr. Console on keys, Johnny the Horns Cole on brass, and also the keys, and the clear, bright Freedom Pipes of Jay Mayo on backing vocals. It's just $6 for 16 tracks, and every penny goes back to keeping AfterMovieDiner.com and this podcast alive. So please help us out where you can, and if you can't, at least rate and review us wherever the podcast is found and help spread the word. With that, let's head over to the amazing chrome freestanding Kellogg's Diner over by the BQE in Groovetown, Hipster Central, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York, for this extra special episode of the show. Thanks so much as always for listening, and we really do hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome to another episode of the After Movie Diner, and it is a very special one this week. It's always a special one, but this week it's particularly special and particularly exciting because we have none other than Jeopardy champion and mad bastard Austin Rogers, who is going to be talking us through Robert Redford's 1994 film quiz show, which is very appropriate because, of course, he came to fame as a contestant on the quiz show. Austin, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
John, I'm pretty happy to be here. This is going to be fun. Here we are in Brooklyn.
We're in the Kellogg's Diner in Williamsburg. Regular listeners of the show will know...
Yes, please.
Thank you. Regular listeners of the show will know that when we don't have a movie out at the theater that we're interested in, we take a time out, we go to my apartment, we watch a movie, and then we come here to talk about it, thus making a Kellogg's Diner my local After Movie Diner. And why not? Because it's a famous Brooklyn institution at this point, with freestanding chrome diners dwindling throughout the city and dying out.
and I don't come to Brooklyn, so this is like going to the Nile for me.
Right, exactly. This is you
Actually,
out of your element.
that's sort of a lie. I come to Brooklyn every Monday to
Right.
host trivia, but other than that, I've got my once a week Brooklyn
Yeah,
sojourn, and that's pretty much all we got.
right. It's odd because I feel like when people probably saw you on the TV or when people meet you, do they think you're more Brooklyn than Manhattan?
Oh my
or-
God, all the time. Everyone would come
Right,
up to
right,
me and
right.
they'd be like, hey man, it's the bartender from Brooklyn. Because I don't know if you guys know what I look like, but you know, I sometimes have crazy hair and a crazy beard. Right now I've got a short beard and short hair, but
Right.
they assume, one, I'm from Brooklyn.
Right.
Two, that I'm not a bartender. I'm like a mixologist. And they go, what's your favorite cocktail? And I go,
Right.
Guinness
Guinness.
and whiskey. And they go, no, like cocktails. I'm like, I don't make them.
No.
Like, what do you mean? Like, if I came into your bar and ordered Manhattan, I'd be like,
Right?
no. Look,
Right.
look left, look right, and figure out your audience. I'm not the bar that's going to make you a Manhattan.
Yeah.
Now, can I make a Manhattan? Yeah, I can. But I make them for myself. I'm not going to make them for you.
Right.
But I'm not that kind of bar. You've been to my bar before. You
Yeah,
know
I've been
what
to your
it is.
bar a couple of times.
It's a bar called The Gaff. It's a local Hell's Kitchen Irish bar. It's a hole in the wall, but it's not a dive.
No.
It's just a local.
It's a
And
local.
I don't know. For people outside New York, it's really hard to tell the difference between a dive and a local, right?
Right, definitely. Although I think that a dive...
I mean, locals, like, I know the term local because
Right.
it was founded by Irish. Half my friends are Irish, so
Right.
we call it the local.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But
I
I
think
think
the dive-
local doesn't really exist outside New York, does it?
No, because dive and local are two different things. Like, and I think that it's almost easier in over here. Everything is a bar, right? You don't really have the term pub in the same way.
I mean, we
You
do,
guys do,
again,
but
we
not
do
in
in
the-
New York.
Right.
But we don't.
So I always think of a local as being something more of a pub,
Right.
whereas a bar can be a dive. A bar can be a local too, but I feel like that's where the division is. If you feel at home there, it's more
It's
of a
your
local
local.
and pub.
But a bar, yeah.
But if
yeah.
you're out just slamming shots and trying to pick people up, that's a
bar.
dive or
That's
a bar
or a dive, right? And then,
Well,
but
if there's people sitting around in black, mumbling, talking poetry and coughing, that's probably a dive as well.
now we're all,
You know what I mean,
Now
though?
we're all fuzzy on the whole definition.
Except then there's the hipster thing of when they open up a brand new bar, but they make it look like a dive.
Right, now that's just disingenuous and
Yeah,
fake.
that's just
some,
awful.
that's some fucking flatbush sort of bullshit.
Right,
kind
right.
of bullshit. No, well, my bar's 20 years old right now, and it's founded by guys from Ireland, originally owned by guys from Ireland. Now it's owned by New Yorkers, but we haven't changed. I've been going to that bar for 18 years, and like when I walk into that bar, the only thing that's really changed in that bar is the TVs are flatter and there's more of them.
Right,
it looks
right.
the same when I first went there in 2001.
How are the bathrooms? That's probably a key between...
Clean.
Right.
There we go.
That's why it's
Clean
a local,
and
not a
well
dive.
maintained.
Right.
Yes.
That's why it's a local, not a dive.
Yes. Bathrooms, and there's one unisex,
Yeah.
one men's,
Yeah.
and one dedicated women's.
Right.
I think we're a pub. We're local. We're a local pub.
You're a local pub.
Yeah.
I've been there. I felt at home. It was local.
Yep.
And even the one on the Upper East Side, the same thing.
Yeah, well, same lineage, same
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
genealogy.
Yeah.
Different family now, but they're both, they both got the same grandfather.
They do. Right. So yeah, and it definitely, like I say, definitely more of a bar or a pub or a local.
Yeah.
I like that term. In fact, I think as I get older, when I was younger, I was all about the dives, right? Most people are when they're younger. As I get older, I'm more about the pubs.
I don't know.
The homes,
I like
the-
sort
the
of
locals.
I was like my dive era was intensely short. I was like born like fully armed like Athena from Zeus's skull,
Right.
wanting to sit in the corner with a whiskey and a Guinness
Yeah.
and my two close friends.
Yeah.
Like, now, granted, when I first got out of college and I moved to Manhattan, like we'd go to the dives like Village Idiot, no longer exists, but it served $5 pitchers of Coors,
Right.
and it just smelled of urine, no matter what it was. And the girls danced on the bar and threw their bras up on the rafters and stuff like that, and like it was the consummate dive.
Right.
And then like there's a couple other Hogs and Heifers was around the corner from it. Again, if you were wearing a tie, the bouncer would cut your tie off. So
Right.
you'd get all these bankers coming in to slum it and their Armani ties, they're like $1,500 Armani ties, just cut in half with scissors, and they freak out. Everyone would laugh at them. But then I discovered the Gaff,
Right.
my pub. And I'm like, oh, this is what I've been missing. And frankly, I'm a little bit of a homebody in that, like, I only go to like the same 6 or 8 bars.
Yeah.
2 of which are called The Gaff, and all of which I know the owners of,
right?
And all of which pour pints of Guinness. So I've got my fucking
and
thing.
I feel like you are to New York bars a little bit like I am to New York diners, if I'm allowed to make that comparison, in the sense that the thing that I love, the thing you seem to love about the pubs you frequent, is that they're local and homely, and you know the people, and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And the thing I love, and anyone can come in, right? Anyone can walk in through the door, right? It doesn't matter if you're a politician or a construction worker, everyone in between.
And you won't feel out of place knowing that everyone knows one another.
Right.
Because immediately, if you intrigue yourself into a conversation, you'll be introduced to the whole roll of characters too.
Right.
And now it's up to you to remember who's who.
And in like the UK, pubs play the role that diners play here, in the sense that anyone can walk into a diner, right? Anyone.
You're more insular in the pubs, right?
Right.
You can't like...
Oh, I don't know. No, I mean, I got to know most landlords that I would go to pubs.
No, I'm talking about the locals and the regulars.
Oh, right.
Like, you can't walk into like a high street. Hey, we're
Hi,
doing
how are
great.
you?
We actually haven't chosen yet.
I'm aware, but Austin needs more time.
Yeah, 5 more minutes.
Great, thank you so much.
Well, yeah, you can't like walk into a pub on a high street,
right?
Like on whatever high street it is in whatever neighborhood in London it is, and like see the old heads sitting at the pub and sit down next to them and be like, "Hey, who's playing this match right now?" They'll shut off. At least that's my experience.
Probably outside of the city more, or outside the city centre more. So if you went down south a little bit to like Balham and Tooting and that kind of area, or if you went up north to more like the Angel Islington and that
they
kind
will
of
be
area,
they will be less
more
insular or more insular.
Less insular.
Less insular.
And then if you go out to the countryside, or you go to like a local pub in like a main middle class high street or middle of the road high street, you'd be fine.
Well, yeah. I mean, my experience in Ireland is that everyone like immediately wants to talk to you, know what your thing is.
Yeah.
So much so that occasionally it's a little bit annoying because
right.
you actually just did want to go get a quiet pint, and
right.
it's the locals who don't want to have a quiet pint. It's the locals who want to talk to you. So I don't know. I guess there's a little cultural Anglo-Irish American divide in this.
Oh
right?
yeah, no, definitely. But like, there's a bar up here, just up from Kellogg's, which is called, I want to say Joe Junior's or something Junior's. Definitely got a junior in the title. Anyway, it's been there forever. Been there before this neighborhood was this neighborhood. It's definitely Italian run. Has been around forever, and it's one of those places that the hipster crowd just don't go, right? So one night, Kim and I were walking back, and she's like, "Hey, let's get a nightcap in there. You've got to go in and experience this place at least once, right?" So we go in, and we stand at the bar. They've got some good music on the jukebox. We order our cocktail, nothing too fancy, just a whiskey and ginger or something simple. And thinking like you do in London, that like the locals are not necessarily going
I'm
to
gonna come in and get my drink,
right,
do my business and leave.
Right. And we had a couple in there. The bartender started talking to us. Then a couple of locals started talking to us. We put some music on the jukebox. One of them was like, "This is great." And like slowly, we were in there like 3 or 4 hours actually. We ended up closing out the joint with people. In the end, we knew everybody's names. Everyone loved our choice of music. They liked the fact that we weren't like doucheholes, that we were a bit older, we were a bit more knowledgeable about the neighborhood. And
right. And they're like, "Oh, great. Yeah, why can't you have come in before?"
Right.
I got you. I totally forgot. We're at a diner, and I didn't even think of like, I only order one thing when I'm at a diner.
Yeah.
So
what do you always order?
We're gonna hear it.
Okay, cool.
Right,
I'm excited to hear that.
All right, what are you up
to? So anyway,
we just saw a quiz show.
We are. We just saw a quiz show, and I didn't realize. I first saw quiz show when it came out in the 90s, and probably again when I was at college, which was end of the 90s, early 2000s.
We are ready. Go ahead.
I'm going to actually change up my regular order. I'm going to have 2 eggs over easy with ham and fries, please. Yeah, 2 eggs over easy, ham and fries, please.
French fries or
French fries. I will have whole wheat, please.
And can I get a grilled cheddar cheese with bacon and tomato on rye bread.
Grilled cheddar with bacon and tomato on rye.
Yeah, on rye, and French fries.
Thank you, Austin.
Awesome. That's an awesome order. That's a good diner order.
Rye bread is a lost art.
Yeah.
And like diners are like a couple, the few places left that still have rye bread.
And I love, like, so there's a thing, like, growing up, the fascination with America and Americana and all the things that I had, whether it's reading books or whether it's watching movies or whatever. And it's that speak. It's being able to kind of go 2 eggs over easy. Like, nobody says that outside of, diners in New York, you know?
Right.
Or you say, like, on rye.
Grilled cheddar on rye with lettuce, tomato, and bacon.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, just get it up. I love all that. You know what I mean? That kind of speak that kind of has gone to something.
Like when you go into the bodega and like, so I'm from the suburbs, but we're predominantly Italian, Jewish, Irish neighborhoods in the suburbs. So we had the same kind of delis you have here.
Right.
Except usually they're standalones. They're not inside a block. They're like usually on a corner, blah, 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 blah. And you'd go in and there's the big Boar's Head deli counter, and you go in from childhood. Just go into that deli with your brothers and your dad, and like, let me get turkey and cheddar on here, less tomato, mayo, green peppers and onions, and let me get ham and Swiss on rye with less tomato and mustard, and let me get, what do you want? And you order the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And then 5 seconds later, you got all your sandwiches, right? That's how you'd have lunch.
Yeah.
And during the mornings, it's bacon, egg, and cheese, bacon, egg, and cheese, bacon, egg, and cheese, bacon, egg, and cheese. But when I went to college in Minnesota, there's no such thing as a deli.
Right.
Like, there were like sit-down restaurants that served deli-style sandwiches, but that's not a walk up to the guy with the paper hat behind the counter and be like,
Right.
I want this, and he has it for you, stacked 3.5 inches thick,
Right.
for $4.75. You know.
Right. And even like our little bodega that I went into earlier, which was like, that's a small one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even they have a little deli counter
Of course,
in
of
there. Like
course.
every place has
Yeah.
a little deli counter.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, well, how often do they clean the grill? And then you're like, I hope they never clean it because it doesn't fucking
That's where the flavor comes
Yeah,
from.
right.
That's where the flavor comes from. Yeah.
So anyway, back to Quiz Show. I
Yeah.
probably first saw it probably in '96, and then once it made its way onto VHS and stuff in the UK, and then probably watched it again when I was at university, so early 2000s, but I haven't seen it since then. And obviously I got to know you because you know my fair fiancée Kim from way back. And you were a contestant who gained some fame and notoriety and was very successul on the quiz show Jeopardy. And I think for a brief moment, and I was very flattered that you semi-quoted me in an interview, but I think for a moment...
What did I say?
You just said an English friend of mine said that you were the thing that the country all kind of needed right there. You were like some hope, some positivity.
Right, because everything was in shit.
Because the second time I met you, like I told you this, I said like it was one of those things that instead of coming home, seeing the news and being like, what the fuck did he do today? You got home, you put Jeopardy on, and you were like, yay, there's Austin being funny and enjoyable and entertaining.
I mean, I guess the timing was right because we hadn't been overwhelmingly fatigued by he who shall not be named right now as we are right now. That it was bad. There was like the Las Vegas shooting happened, and everything was like the worst, and I know the worst, and like I know the best people, and everything's great, and everything's awesome. And by the way, I'm rich. No, like you're right. Yeah, and I remember you saying that. You're like, it's really encouraging that like you're like a breath of like, and I think that's maybe why the resonance happened into such a magnitude. And it's something that, you don't see when you're on the show because it's taped so far in advance. So there you are. You're sitting there with the producers, right? And you tape 5 episodes a day, right? Briefings and training and rehearsal, then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then lunch, then Thursday, Friday. Then you wake up and you do it again the next day, right?
Right. They only let you have lunch once a week.
Yeah, exactly. So you wake up and do it again the next day.
Yeah.
So these producers who work on the show are seasoned veterans, some of the coolest people in television. They've all been for the show for 30 years or 28 years or 24 years or whatever. So they've been through the ringer. They've seen everything come and go, right? So like by like my 4th or 5th episode, which is lunchtime,
right?
They're like, you have no idea what's happening, do you? I'm like, No, I'm just up here having fun. And by the next day, they're like, you have literally no idea what's going to happen to your life. And like, come on, guys. Now, I'm not thinking of these being consecutively aired daily television episodes.
Right.
That what I just did was a day and a half, but actually was a full 2 weeks.
Right.
A full 2 weeks of me on TV every single day. But the producers, they've been through the ringer before, and they're savvy enough to, sort of project into the future, and they're like, oh, we're seeing something special here.
Right.
So they already had that sort of telegraphed in their head. Followed secondly by the fact that like last fall was a pretty shitty time for the country.
Right.
And I mean, it's sort of, it's sort of weird to look at yourself outside of yourself. But, certain times it happened to me where I'm looking at myself outside of myself and I'm like, I did do something special. And that's, you never want to be the guy who's like, I'm really special. I did something special. But like, the producers were right. Something special was happening, and you can't see it from within.
No.
Secondly, you can't see it while it's happening. Third, you can only see it when you have total perspective, and then you realize you're like, what I did was different.
Yeah.
I still don't think what I did was that different, but apparently everyone else did.
Well, yeah, only because, Kim and I used to watch Jeopardy anyway, right? So we were used to kind of what it is, which is very cozy comfort television, and pretty... Even with the different characters, and you can always tell there's always like a quiet, more professorial, nerdy one, and then there's like a one who's very excited to be there. There's different types, and you're used to seeing them come and go, and there's an ebb and a flow, and someone wins for like maybe 2 or 3 episodes, and then the next one, and it's very kind of samey all the time. And then it's followed by Wheel of Fortune, and the same kind of thing happens, and da-da-da-da-da. And then I think what you did was you kind of came on, and just by the virtue of who you are in general, I don't think you were playing a part. I think you were just being yourself and having fun with it.
I'm stuck with this.
Right. No, that's one thing Kim told me. She was like, this is him. Like, this is not, he's not up there, like, miming balloon animals because he thinks that he needs to do that. Like, he's doing it because that's what he would do when he's got 10 seconds to fill. Let's move my hands around. So... it was fascinating, and what it did, way more than you expect ABC to talk about Dancing with the Stars or the Marvel movies or whatever it is, right? You expect there's a cycle, Bachelor or whatever. There's always this cycle, and then all the shows that are talk shows, chat shows, day shows, whatever they are, they all talk about this thing, right? But it's different. It was different with you because it was a thing of. There was suddenly something to talk about that was not the regular cycle of things.
Well,
which on TV these days with the very ordered thing is unusual in and of itself. And then you were you on top of that.
Well, there's 2 things there that are not completely 100%. One, Jeopardy is syndicated. So although it's on ABC here in New York, it's on Fox here and NBC there and CBS there.
I just used that as my example.
Oh, right. So it's syndicated, so it's not ABC pushing it.
Right.
But you're also watching it in my local market.
Right.
I am from New York. You're watching it in New York. And next, the largest television market in the country, right? So, like, that is something...
This looks fantastic. I love that colored plate.
I'm super stoked. Thank you very much.
The best French fries.
That would be some more water, please.
Too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was not expecting crinkle fries.
Oh, the crinkle fries are the best here, dude. Normally I get cheese and gravy fries, but it's a bit heavy this late at night. So.
What is it, 10 o'clock right now?
Yeah. Oh, yes, thank you so much. Very kind.
Juby. Oh, yeah, so you put ketchup on your eggs, you barbarian.
Yeah. Well, I just put ketchup on my breakfast, my late night breakfast.
So it is syndicated.
Right.
Oh. Also, yeah. Now, maybe that was one of the facets that made the producers think that something so dramatically different was happening. Because I am a bartender from New York, right?
Right.
And, typically when people from New York are on, they're lawyers or doctors or whatever, or bankers or whatever. Right. Now, like, 30 some odd years ago when I was a kid, the biggest winner of the time in Jeopardy history, because back then you could only win 5 games and then you were booted. Only in the late 90s did they open it up to continual winning, right?
Right.
And the big guy who won in the late 80s was a New York City transit cop. And this is before the transit police merged with the NYPD. The transit police were their own department, and they were sort of also ran the second-class citizen of the NYPD. Like,
right.
It was, you were NYPD or you were a transit cop, right?
Right. Almost like the NYPD guys now who go around in those little like bike individual like pod unit things.
Yeah, the Cushmans.
They must be the lowest of the. And of course, the mounted police are the top of the tree.
Oh,
surely,
yeah.
right?
I got a horse.
A fucking horse.
I'm literally the heir of chivalry. You know. No, but so this guy who won 5 games was a transit cop. Another rule back then was if you won over $75,000, anything over that was donated to the charity of your choice.
Right.
So the max you could do was like 75. I forgot what happened to this guy, but I know he won 5 straight. I want to say he won like 125 in 5 straight or something like that. Also, the dollar values were halved back then. So it was an incredible feat. And I remember as a kid, like, that being like on the cover of the Post or the Daily News, because it's like, not to disparage how hard it was being a transit cop in the 80s, because it's probably way easier than being a normal cop today. I mean, way harder than being a normal cop today. But it was like, you know, transit cop, like, second fiddle cop, smarter than all of us. And I remember that as a kid. That was really amazing.
Right. And it's there's that aspect to it as well. There's just like, that's what I like about, especially about Jeopardy, but just in general. And it's almost brought up in the movie as well. The fact that anyone can kind of be smart. It's not about class or wealth or pedigree or anything like that. Like, anyone can be smart. It's the, and that's what we were talking about before we started recording. Like, we were using an example of Stephen Fry and how he can educate people without talking down to them, because he realizes that education is universal.
Right.
It's a great unifier, in fact. In fact, a healthier, better educated populace, the better the country. You know what I mean? The better the outcomes.
Right. Which is, you know, like, which was perversely the villainous crux of Quiz Show.
Right, the movie Quiz Show.
They wanted the patrician, waspy teacher, the paternal fatherly figure to be up there winning.
Yeah.
So kids would like stay in school.
Right.
Wouldn't you want, you know, the schlubby guy with the lisp to be like,
And the missing tooth?
wouldn't that be the guy to look up to?
Yeah, definitely.
Won't that raise more kids' aspirations rather than the guy who looks like the dean in a 70s like frat movie? Like, that dean's out for us. Dean Van Dorn. He does, doesn't he?
He does.
He's
He looks
got
like
the
a cross
hair.
between that and fucking Tintin is what he looks like.
Yeah. Wasn't Ray Fiennes in Tintin?
Was Ray Fiennes in the Steven Spielberg Tintin? I don't know. I've not seen him.
No, I think it's Daniel Craig. I think Daniel Craig was the voice in it. Nope, we're not looking it up.
No, I was just checking we're still running. It's just a psychosis of mine. I suppose the thing is that for someone like yourself to see the transit cop, you need to understand, as that kid.
And his last name was like, you know, Ribisi or something like that.
Right,
It was,
of course.
you know, his last name wasn't Van Dorn.
Right. You have to understand all of the things that go into the fact that him being a transit cop and him being smart are not mutually exclusive, you know what I mean? Like, that can exist in the same person, right?
But to use the D word that I hate, it's disruptive, you know?
Right. Whereas the Van Dorn in the case of Quiz Show
is a given.
It's a given, and therefore you are telling the populace this is who to aspire to, because he is intelligent, because he is a professor, and because he can tell kids to stay in school. But that's because they're playing down to what they perceive to be the idiocy of the populace.
Right, and you can never aspire to be that Connecticut patrician guy.
Right, because you'll never get there unless you're already one.
Right.
Right.
Whereas you can be the schlub from Queens. Like, there was a line in it, like, but he's from New York. And Martin Scorsese goes, Queens ain't New York.
Right? And so, but it's also, I mean, I have a colleague that I work with, and on one hand, he'll tell you he's a New Jersey Guinea Met supporter, comes from an Italian family, has a whole, dad was probably connected thing, background, whole bit, right? And, he posts pictures of himself in, like, wife-beater vests, and he has the gold chain and the whole bit. He reads endless books about the Civil War and American history, like knows all the stuff and da-da-da-da-da. I'm not saying that as a surprising thing. I'm just saying that so often that dichotomy, people are like, whoa, but it shouldn't be. Like, anyone can read a book. Anyone can be educated. Anyone can learn this stuff.
And conversely, anyone can, then go and, hold on to their roots.
Right. Totally.
I mean, sometimes a little too hard in Americans' cases, because way too many Americans are like, oh, I'm 100% Irish. Oh, what county are you from? Boston. Funny, never heard of Boston County.
It'll all go another few hundred years and that'll all start dying off.
Yeah.
It's only important right now because it's only been 3, 4, 5 generations max.
I mean, the Irish.
A lot of the people I meet my age are only 3rd generation.
Right. What am I? Well, I don't count because one half of my family I don't know about. But we're not going into genealogy.
No.
There's way too much going on with my family to even go into.
And there's way too much going on in Quiz Show as well.
Yeah.
But I do want to weave your story with the story of the film as much as possible because I find both fascinating.
When we were watching it, it goes blah, 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 Charles Van Doren, literature professor. And I thought he was a physics professor. And you go, wait, this is true? And I go, yeah, it's true. Not only is it true, game shows are federally fucking mandated right now, federally governed right now. So, you sign, federal documents when you go on a game show.
Because only in America could quiz shows be federally governed, but the news can run amok. Quiz shows have to be factually accurate. The news, on the other hand, can say whatever the fuck they want.
Oh my God, that's so true. I didn't even think of that.
Right? In the name of
that's 100% true.
Yeah.
Entertainment has to be factual.
Right.
Factual can just be entertainment.
Yeah, it can be whatever. That's the world we're living in right now.
So, when you're on the show...
Right.
In the morning, you do your briefings, do your paperwork.
You're giving all the answers.
No, you're giving all the answers. You are not giving all the answers.
Right.
And you get, they want to make sure they're pronouncing your name right. They want to make sure they got your quips and your anecdotes together that they're going to ask you. They're not going to tell you which ones they're going to ask you, but they're going to say, here's 4 of them. We're going to ask you one of them. So at least you're just moderately mentally prepared.
Right.
But that's for the tongue-in-cheek, chit-chatty part.
That's the bit where he walks down and for 30 seconds they have to say,
yeah, exactly.
I own some Chinaware with pictures of stars from the 50s on it.
I collect porcelain pigs.
Right.
Whatever. They're all pretty lame. But then after that, a lawyer comes in and she sits down and she goes, I am from an independent legal counsel company called blah, 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 blah.
Right. I'm
neither affiliated with the president, the producers of the show, nor the networks, but I vet all the questions and I randomize all the contestants.
Yeah.
And no one there, I've been given, for the day's docket of 5 games, I've been given X amount of question packets, and I've arbitrarily thrown out 2 of them, and then I've arbitrarily shuffled the other ones, and I've arbitrarily shuffled the contestants. So what you were about to embark, although the writers and producers wrote these questions,
right,
No one knows in what order they're being thrown out and in what order anyone is playing, so there's no possible collusion. And you've just signed a document saying that you are perjuring yourself in federal law if blah, 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 blah. And, like, they're not messing around.
Right.
That's it. They come in, they do that for 10 minutes.
Right.
And, like, everyone's like... And then they leave and they go... No one's... And everyone, like, the producers will lighten the load and they'll be like... They put the fear of God in us because they need to, but we're still having on an entertainment show, and everyone's going to have fun. And now everyone can have more fun knowing that it's completely on the level because it's out of our hands.
Right.
And so in a way, it's sort of, it gives you like a release.
Right.
You know, you're like, oh, it can't be fixed. Oh,
Right.
we can't do anything. Oh, and then now that's one of the things too.
And that's all because back in the 50s, right? End of the 50s?
Mm-hmm.
Hank Azaria and the little guy with the glasses, whose name I can never remember, but this movie is filled with that guys.
Oh my God.
So many character actors.
Who we count? Mario Cantone.
Yeah.
Calista Flockhart.
Yeah.
Hank Azaria, obviously.
Hank Azaria. All the guys at his poker game are all people you would recognize from like TV and movies.
That
as
guy.
big guys. Right.
Mira Sorvino.
Mira Sorvino's in it. The guy who plays the main part, is it Robert Morrow? Robert Morto?
Rob Morrow, right? Yeah, he's
from Northern Exposure.
Yeah. And of course, Ray Fiennes.
Who's amazing in it. Both of them are amazing in it.
John
But
Turturro.
Robert Morrow in it, you would just think like would have gone on to fame and fortune after this movie.
Northern Exposure was on CBS, and for some reason or other, we just weren't a CBS family.
Yeah.
Like, the only time I ever watched CBS was if I was homesick from school, and at 11 in the morning, Price is Right was on.
Right.
That's the only time we ever had it on Channel 2. Otherwise, we were Channel 4, and actually, we were mostly Channel 4. We watched Channel 4 News, Sue Simmons, Chuck Scarborough, Al Roker, Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, and then at 7 o'clock, after that was over, we switched it to Channel 7 for Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
But usually we didn't even watch Wheel of Fortune, we just watched Jeopardy. We were a weird family.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you know what?
That sounds very standard to me, not weird at all.
Well, I've actually never asked anyone that. Were my friends, because I'm still friends with many of my friends that I grew up with, because I'm just from 40 minutes from here.
Right.
Just like Kim is. Kim and I are practically neighbors.
Right.
Or at least growing up. I gotta ask my friends, because I never actually came to do it. Did they have, like, channel loyalties?
Right.
Like, were you a Channel 2 family, or were you a Channel 4 family?
Right.
And the other thing I didn't realize that, like, Channel 2 is literally owned by CBS here, whereas everywhere else in the country... Oh, yeah,
Everything's
great.
delicious. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Whereas everywhere else, it's an affiliate,
Right.
So I just thought all these networks were one network.
Yeah.
Turns out they're all like these just massively splintered amalgamation across the country.
Well, also, what's weird now is because, like Apple TV, Roku, whatever, is that ABC and now NBC, but ABC, certainly for as long as I've lived with Kim, has always done the live feed. You could log in with your cable login on your Apple TV and watch live ABC. So in the morning, Kim wakes up and puts on the morning show because she wants the weather and the commute and, you know...
And it just happens to be the ABC one.
Right, and it happens to be the ABC one. And then in the evening, we get home and watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, which happen to be on ABC. So, you know, and we like the Wednesday night comedy with the Goldbergs and stuff like that. So, like, we end up with... It's not that we have brand loyalty necessarily, it's just that ABC is on, it was readily available, and we end up watching it. And it's not like any of the other channels are advertising to me anything that I'm going to...
Because you can't see them because of the medium and what you're watching.
Right, but also just going through the subways, looking at the posters, I'm not seeing this fall on NBC, you have to watch this thing, because what do I care? But no, so with in the movie quiz show, of course, they pull the contestants in, and their first pitch is to say, we know you're very intelligent, so we're going to ask you the questions you already know the answers to. It wouldn't be like cheating, because you already know the answers, you've already done the work.
Right, you're a history professor.
Right.
We're going to keep it round there.
Right.
We're not going to throw math in.
Right, so this is the way that they kind of like get him in, and to be fair, at the beginning, Ray finds his character is like, no, I don't want to do that. And even double checks when they're leaving the building, He's like, I don't want to do it the way you said we would do it. What he doesn't know is that John Turturro's character, and John Turturro, like every role he does, is having way too much fun with this character.
Even in Transformers, where he's getting pissed on by an Autobot, it's John Turturro, man.
He's amazing.
I mean, just if he only had just that crying and begging scene in Barton Fink,
right?
If that was the only
Miller's Crossing.
Miller's Crossing. Oh, Barton Fink's a whole another story. But if he didn't have, if he only was captured only on that crying and begging scene in Miller's Crossing, he'd be remembered as one of the greatest actors of all time.
But you think of it at this time, all those Coen Brothers movies that he was
they're happening right now.
They're all happening at the 90s,
Fargo
the
was
mid-90s.
96, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't in Fargo. What? Fargo was 96.
Is it 96 or 98? I would have said it was slightly later.
Miller's Crossing, then Barton Fink, then Fargo, right? That's the order, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So he was filming or had just filmed one or both of those at that moment,
so these three films, like Quiz Show, Barton Fink, and Miller's Crossing,
are within a year or three of one another.
And he's insanely good in all three of them. Like, just insanely good in all three of them.
He's great.
Yeah, so as they're wooing Ralph Fiennes' waspy professor character, they are also telling John Turturro's schlubby, Jewish
veteran, paying my way through college, has all that. I mean, he's a walking cliche.
What does he say about his wife? He says, I love her, but it's like living with a plague of locusts.
Yeah, no. And she goes, huh, I deserve to be worshipped. He goes, go to India and moo. Did you hear that one?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I deserve
He has
to be
some
worshipped.
amazing lines.
But like they were literally a walking stereotype.
Yeah.
They were like a Neil Simon family, magnified. Like the kid had like asthma and acne and thick glasses, and the wife's like kvetching all the time, and he's like, and I'm like, oh my god.
The mother-in-law on the phone who won't shut up.
On the phone, right?
Yeah.
But totally. I mean, it wasn't Nazi propaganda.
No. Like it
was completely pointing out, like, this is a normal family,
right? From
the non-linear white bread American cookie cutter that you want of 1950.
Right.
So, like, just highlighting that difference is why Van Horn is like Van Horn, Van Dorn,
yeah.
Van Dorn or Van Horn,
Van Dorn,
Van Dorn, right? Just like why he was. Actually, there's a perverse logic in it.
But even when you go up to Connecticut for his father's birthday party, that's an idealized Connecticut as much as that's a rundown, version of Queens. Like, Robert Redford as the director is like, probably to highlight the difference between the two characters, but he is doing a rose-tinted version of one thing and a very, like, stylized. But they both feel natural, is what I was going to say. Like both of them.
They don't feel exploitative.
No,
and not both sides. You're sympathetic to the aloofly naive patrician Connecticut wasps.
Yeah.
And you're laughing with, not at, the schlubby working class Queens people.
Right, but also there is a part of me that, as mad as Turturro is, and as much as they smear his name throughout the movie, there is a part of me that's like, I would quite like to see him on some mad panel show. Why didn't they give him a panel show? Why didn't they put him on something else? I know why they didn't, but I'm just saying.
Right, you could have.
You would have loved that.
You could have Mitzi and Muffy and Biffy and Buffy and Bunny and Chet laughing and the whole time, but having him throwing a wrench in the works all the time. Well, let me tell you about this time on Piscataway.
Yeah,
right?
Completely.
But I mean, that's so. Earlier today, in preparation for this, I watched a contemporary Siskel and Ebert review, and they gave it like. I don't know. I remember watching Siskel and Ebert as a kid, because I'm a huge movie guy, right? I remember watching Siskel and Ebert as a kid, and he usually went like this. Siskel would be like, what a joy, so great. And Ebert would be like, hated it.
Right.
And Siskel would be like, I give it a resounding thumbs up. And Ebert would be like, nope. This one, both of them were immediately effusive.
Yeah.
They're like, this is such a joy, such a delight. We'll go down in history as the perfect. So, like, I was just going to say something. I just watched a movie that I had very good nostalgia glasses for.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and it was really straight. It was done in the 90s, and it was a period piece looking back.
Yeah.
And it was really dated. This one still feels fresh.
Yeah.
Because all the context they're talking about, there were so many parallels to what you said earlier, like Fox News and stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, no one cares about that. It's entertainment, isn't it? You know, I'm the chief of the network. And by the way, tell the chairman I've got his sand wedge because he's still stuck in that bunker. So, of course, the president of NBC is buddies, a golfing buddy, with the chairman of the regulatory board of what becomes the FCC, right? I'm like,
in fact, you think you're watching the movie that like is going to bring down and regulate television, which it does to some extent from what you've told me subsequently, that there are now like legal restrictions on quiz
but that hasn't changed since.
Right. But what's interesting is actually at the end of the movie, TV gets away unscathed. Everyone's still golfing buddies. Everyone's still patting themselves on the back. And actually, it's these guys who were, you know, regular guys like you and me. Okay, yes, one comes from a white bread family, one comes from an immigrant family. But at the end of the day, they both need money. Mm-hmm. They both want to make a name for themselves out of their own names, their own family names.
They've got
their own background.
A maybe perverse, maybe ambitious American dream,
right?
Because now we're in the 50s, right?
Right.
We're not in the privation era of where the American dream is literally a chicken in every pot and a car in every garage, right? Everyone has a chicken in every pot. Everyone has a car in every garage. Oh, and that's what's interesting. What does it start with? It starts with a Chrysler 300 convertible on the sales room floor. That's one of the, I think it was a 300C. I'm a car nut, right?
Right.
And I'm one of the first cars with the Hemi V8. Like, broke all the records. 190 horsepower, like you said, which is astronomical for 1954 or 1957. It was I don't know what year it was, but it was after McCarthyism.
Yeah.
But so all that, wow, this is a really nuanced movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts with consumerism. It goes on with a perversion of the American dream. It goes on with it moves into the middle where it's about classism and who's the other and who actually is American.
Right.
And then ends it all with the whole system's corrupt anyway, so what does it matter?
Right.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, spelling it out like that, this movie is amazing.
Right, and there's this one of the wonderful moments that stands out is like, well, not wonderful moment, but like one of the things that makes you go ding, like whatever, is Turturro in his ranting, because he's played off time and time again by the producers of the show as being like this mad person, and in fact the way Turturro plays it, you can well believe that he's like this, you know, power-hungry, crazy, confused, upset person. But he says at one point, it always goes, a Gentile always beats a Jew, and a Gentile always wins more money, right? And you're like, whatever, that's crazy.
Go, ha, 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 ha.
And then later on, Rob Murrow, who's the guy from the government, the legislator, who's trying to like bring this down, he goes, and they're all in the office, and they're giving him the spiel, and they've got the edited tape that they're trying to prove that he's crazy, and they've gone, look, we paid for his doctor bills, and da-da-da-da, and he goes, the funny thing is, it's true.
I looked it up.
Yeah. And you see the two of them, and they suddenly pause, and then they go,
Is it?
Oh, we should look that up.
Yeah.
Like, we should look into that. They suddenly, like...
Which means they didn't even know it.
Right.
Because it's so innate that they're like, we didn't like that last guy. Let's look Like, the distaste was not... that guy who played... whatever, the head producer, and
the old dude?
Yeah, Hank Azaria.
Oh, Hank Azaria.
Not the president, but Hank Azaria and the other guy.
With the glasses.
Yeah, their bounce off was great.
Oh, they're so good together. And like I said, when this first came out...
He's a little fucking crazy. Yeah.
He said, no, he's like... Herb Stempel is a little, what's the word for it? And Hank Azaria just goes, he's fucking nuts.
He's fucking nuts. He goes,
But Hank Azaria is priceless. I love him and everything.
Oh, I totally forgot. There's one thing I wanted to tell you.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I was on The Tonight Show, right?
Yes, you were.
The
I now know 2 people who have been on The Tonight Show.
I was on The Tonight Show.
Yes.
And before you go on, the producers give you a tour of the studio. Guess what studio The Tonight Show is filmed in?
The same one as 21?
Absolutely. They got the photos up on the wall.
Wow.
They got the chronology of that. So, apparently, so there's a couple of cool things in that studio. It used to be like a disused hallway, and then there was a utility closet that was converted to Max Weinberg's dressing room when Conan O'Brien had the Late Night with Conan O'Brien show.
Right.
Behind that hallway was a utility closet, and the pipes of that utility closet were painted and decorated by Frank Oz and Jim Henson.
Oh my God.
It's like this Muppet totem pole,
Right.
Of like done in like the 60s, late 60s,
right,
when
right.
they were like on the Today Show or something like that, and they were just killing time, and they decorated this whole
And they were
closet.
on the first series of SNL. The Muppets were on the first
Maybe
series
that's
of
what
SNL.
it was.
Very early.
The very first year. Maybe that's what it was.
Before they went to England to do the show we know.
So, whenever Max Weinberg would have someone in his dressing room, he'd open up this utility door, and there was this thing that was painted by Jim Henson and Frank Oz. So, Fallon, when he moved from one studio to the next studio
he
for
did
the Tonight
Muppets
Show,
doing the wait.
he said, we're preserving that. That's in plexiglass, and that hallway cum utility closet that was Max Weinberg's dressing room is now a little history of that studio.
Wow.
And that studio, it hosted several iterations of the Tonight Show. It hosted some nightly news for a while. It hosted this and that. But one of the first things it hosted, and I look at that and I go, that's the quiz show scandal. That's 21. And they go, holy shit. And I go, well, I do know everything, so duh. Oh, wow.
So, me not knowing that it was real or a true story, is that, what I'm asking, is that story about that game show from the 50s semi-famous? In other words, like, do people kind of generally know it, like in America?
It's in the cultural zeitgeist,
right?
Yes,
or
absolutely.
is it something that you just knew?
No.
Okay.
I think it's generally known. I can think of several reasons why it was generally known. Like, one, just, through a cultural meme, it just floats. And, like, you're like, oh, game shows used to be corrupt. Then Congress stepped in and fixed it.
Right.
That's all you really have to know, right? Also, that movie was immensely popular, immensely well received.
Yeah.
And also, like, at least of my age, my parents were children watching those game shows. So my parents were, so they obviously are cognizant. So I'm sure, I can't quote this, but I'm sure when I was watching a game show as a kid in the 80s, my parents would be like, game shows used to be really corrupt. Right. Look how well run they are now.
Because when I remember seeing the promo for this movie, when this movie was advertised, it wasn't advertised as based on a true story or anything like that. Like, the scene where they bring Ray Fiennes in, and the two guys sit on the desk facing
getting
him
him
in
to
the
rig
chair.
it. The getting him to rig it.
That was on VHSs I had, like in 94, 95. That was the promo for this movie. Now, there may have also been a regular trailer, I don't know. I remember seeing that
conversation
scene.
Was exactly what it was.
I remember
do you want to
seeing
rig
that
this?
scene, yeah.
I think it's wrong. Well, you should think about it. Can we do this? I think it's wrong. Click.
Yeah.
Like, that's enough for the conversation.
And it literally then had a flash bulb and then came up with Robert Redford's quiz show coming soon.
Yeah.
That was like the end of the...
And then the iconic back of the head with the earphones on. Which, by the way, one of the most iconic movie posters of all time.
Yes.
Right?
It was in all video shops forever.
That still resonates. It's just his head slightly bowed with the bright light and just those 1950s, and he's wearing like a blue pinstripe suit. Really iconic movie poster.
And it's the shot from the film
they do
where they do the Jaws is now, it's credited to Jaws, but actually Hitchcock did it, lots of other people did it.
Oh, the
But
dolly,
it's
the dolly
rack
dolly.
focus thing.
Yeah, they do that in that. I know.
Where you zoom in at the same speed as you're pulling it back,
out, and it gets
it contracts the focus in front of and behind the subject, and the subject stays still while the
exactly. So it's either that or you do the Mean Streets shot.
Right. Oh, Scorsese's done it a bunch of times, and in fact, what's interesting about this, it is that Scorsese plays a role in the movie strictly as an actor. He's not even on as a producer.
So
in fact, Richard Dreyfuss produced this.
Did he?
Yeah, he's one of the 3 producers.
Wow. I mean, assuming Robert Redford is executive, right?
Robert Redford directed it, executive. It's written by a guy who's...
The book title scrolled across, and it was like...
It's Voices in America, Story of the 50s.
Story of the 50s, End of Innocence. It was really cumbersome or something like that, right?
Which I haven't read, I don't know anything about. And I just remember it being... It's one of those things where you realize that whether it's true or not clearly doesn't matter, because the movie had an impact on me when I watched it, and I've always enjoyed the movie. It's one of those things where you realize that the cornerstone to good writing and good drama and good movie making doesn't have to be anything more than there are a few characters and there is a MacGuffin, which in this case is the building up of the tension of the revelation to the public that this thing that is hitting 60 million homes is rigged.
Yeah.
And you can make a movie out of that that's just as exciting as The Great Escape. And you don't need people jumping over shit and motorbikes or blowing shit up. Like, it's as exciting.
And also the other, studies have been done in psychology museums, psychology magazines and journals and stuff like that, for a majority of people, spoilers enhance the experience. Because now you're free to follow the story. So we know from the beginning that the whole house of cards is coming down.
Right.
We know it. But then there's a couple reveals in it that, we think John Turturro is the schlub taken for a ride, and then halfway through the movie he goes, "'Cause I got the questions." And his wife storms out, and I don't remember that in the movie, but I had a oh shit moment on that too.
Right.
Because he's like, of course I was. And the guy before me was, and the guy before me was, and the guy before me was. And you go, so now we've got an unreliable actor in the whole thing. So is it all... No, it was all true. But it keeps you guessing.
I was going to say that Turturro's character is honest to a fault. He's honest to the point where literally at times people turn around and say to him, "Shut up." Right. No, but they turn around and they say, so wait a minute, you weren't forced into it at all, you chose it. He keeps trying to make himself out to be a victim, but then his truth-telling and his verbal diarrhea means that actually he's not a victim at all.
He sat down in my kitchen and gave me $20,000 and told me I'd get all the questions.
Right.
Well, you just said all of that.
Yeah.
In one, boom, 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 boom.
And actually what's also funny, and the bit where you're like, kind of frustrated with Turturro is when he then announces that he gave all his money, his $70,000, to a bookie who went to Florida.
Yeah, on a fake real estate deal or
whatever.
But still, through all that schlubbery, he's still a sympathetic character.
Well, because at the end, even though he's as anxious to see Van Dorn taken down in the courthouse as anyone, when they start to slag him off at the very end, Herb Semple is the one who turns around and says, you people should learn to leave people alone and treat them with some respect and da-da-da-da-da.
Well, also, he sort of has a glimmer of... He finally does get his spotlight.
Right.
He's cracking jokes in the Senate chambers or the House chambers, the House Commission chambers, and everyone's eating it up. And then he just goes too far, and he goes, look, because the deal was... Well, he didn't know the deal. Right. He didn't know that he wasn't supposed to implicate Van Dorn in it.
No.
He didn't, and he just went ahead and did it anyway.
Well, because there's some implication that even though the lawyer has been trying to coax him or teach him what he should say on the stand, he's like, we've been through this 4 times already. I know what to say.
He's not even listening.
He's not even listening. He's berating his wife because there's a slight crease on his pants. And he's like, what do you do, sit on these? Like, I love it. Anyway, so back to your story then a little bit. So you was obviously there's two bits in the movie. There's him wanting the panel show, right? And then there's the bit where weirdly on air, the host of the Today Show comes on and gives Van Dorn a contract and says, for 50 grand, come be our cultural correspondent, right? So you do Jeopardy, right? You're on The Tonight Show. James Corden starts talking about fancying you. You're on the Today Show.
Good Morning America.
Good Morning America, right.
TMZ,
a whole bunch of
whatever.
things. Right. So you're having your moment, right? Does anyone, no one, I guess, walks up to you with a contract and says 50 grand to be our trivia correspondent? Or
It's something similar did happen.
okay.
So
And only reveal what you want to.
no. This is on air. The taping schedule of Jeopardy is staggered in such a way that certain things happen before other things.
Right.
So like, I was already number one ranked for the Tournament of Champions, then taped the Tournament of Champions before my regular season episodes ever even aired.
Right.
So like, I'd already finished my regular season run, which is in their books but has not yet aired.
Right. Because it aired even later than you thought it was going to air, didn't it? It aired like a...
It aired about when I thought it was going to air.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it aired exactly when I thought it was going to air.
Oh, okay. I thought for
was-
some reason it was
what
like
happened
a
was
little
the
later.
Tournament of Champions
Right.
happened. I aired late September through mid-October, right? I taped the Tournament of Champions in the end of August
Okay.
for the Tournament of Champions to air in mid-November.
Right.
So,
Yeah, you hadn't been off the regular season long before you came back
For the Tournament
as far as viewerships were, viewers were.
yes. Well, and as far as real life taping too.
Right.
Except that time frame was back set 3 months or whatever.
Right.
So, I was the only one up there in the Tournament of Champions who had yet to be paid. And the way their payment structure worked, it would still be several yet more months before I would be paid.
Right.
But they surprised me
With the check, right,
on
right.
stage
Yeah.
saying, you're up here, you haven't been paid, it's only fair that you get it now. So I ended up getting my check. Can I get another cup of coffee, please?
Sure. The last time I would like to check, okay?
Thank
Oh
you.
yeah, no problem. Thank you.
More water?
Yes, please. So they surprised me with the check several months ahead of time, which was an amazing surprise. I got surprised on stage, but again, remember, my episode had not yet aired yet, so they're like, do not turn that check around to the audience. Because the audience knew nothing about me. They didn't know how many I won, how long I won. All they knew that I was here on the tournament having not yet been aired. So I started pantomime ripping the check up on stage. I go, and everyone goes, ah! I'm like, just kidding, put it in my pocket. But that was a really great surprise. So,
Yeah.
so sort of like that part on the quiz show where the guy in the Today Show walks up and says, here's a contract.
Right.
They walked up and they
Thank you
said,
so much.
thank you. They walked up and they said, here's a check for $400,000, right? Now, there's one issue of that. It means I filed 2017 taxes. If they had paid it when it was scheduled to pay, I would have been on the 2018 taxes, so I would have had that Trump tax cut.
And that would have actually benefited you.
It would have benefited me immensely.
Man, that sucks.
But whatever. The taxes are paid, the money's gone. What are you gonna do? But I'm like, for 1 second, I'm like, one of my friends was like, so the fact that they're paying you here means you missed the Trump tax cut. I'm like, yeah, I did. They're like, so you're Republican now? I go, Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think I am now. You know.
Well, this is the other thing is
fuck the poor.
right, but that's the other thing, right? Because I'm sure you found this, that a lot of people heard your winnings. You were certainly one of the quickest ever to raise that amount of money. Was that like one of
Not
your
one
records?
of the.
You're the, right?
The, absolutely, but not even close margin.
Okay, to earn that amount of money that quickly, you're the first to do that on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Because other people have won more, but they've won more over a much longer period of time.
Yeah. I averaged a win of like 34,000 a game or something.
A game,
like that.
right. Which is great because sometimes you watch it and sometimes they walk away with like 8.
I never walked away
with less than like 30.
20, I think was my lowest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were watching it every night and absolutely fascinated by it. But yeah, I'm sure you have those people that, you know, you win that amount of money and they think you just have that amount of money, which is so completely ludicrous. It's ridiculous because not only are there taxes, but then there's obviously like living expenses and various other things that go into it.
Right, no, right. I mean, New York tax, California tax, and federal tax.
Right.
So I got triple taxed, right? If I lived in Florida, it would be a different story because Florida doesn't have income tax. Wyoming doesn't. Oregon doesn't. A couple other states. I think Tennessee doesn't. So, like, if I lived in, but I live in New York, so I got New York tax, I got California tax, and I got federal tax.
Right. But how many people asked you to buy them stuff?
Actually, you know what?
Not a lot of people.
I only had 2 people come out of the woodwork saying, "Will you finance this thing?"
Right.
Only 2.
Right.
Literally only 2. No one else asked me for anything. And those 2 people were people I had worked on with a different project a couple years back. And the project didn't work because, well, the project was unfeasible.
Right.
So injecting my newfound money into it would not have assisted it.
Right.
So I'm like, really? Are you going to be this gauche to do this?
Yeah.
And gauche is the only word I could think of.
Right.
Like, I hadn't talked to them in a while.
Right.
And it just left a bad taste. I'm like, why would you do this? Why would you do this? These 2 people, why would you do this? And the thing was, I'm sure neither of them had talked to one another. So the fact that it was 2 people
Right.
from the exact same thing, really off-putting, really strange, really weird. They're like, hey, want to invest in this thing? And I'm like, hey, want to invest in this thing independently of one another?
Right.
And we were all together in this one thing. I'm like, yeah, no, that was really weird. Because not a single other person asked me for a dime.
Well, that's a good sign of humanity. That's a great sign.
That's a good sign of my friends.
Right.
And my family.
Right.
And and everyone knows that, like, if you're my friend or you're my family and, like, it's time to go to a baseball game, I'm going to get the tickets.
Right.
You know? Because this is what we do, you know? You get the drinks, I'll get the tickets, you know? I'll get the flight, you get the hotel, you know? Whatever, you know? Because, like, I've been poor before, and my friends have taken care of me.
Yeah.
And now it's my turn to flip back on them. But we're also generous that, like, you know, we don't even keep track anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You know?
Who cares?
You know?
Yeah.
Who cares?
It's the best way to be when you get to our age as well,
Yeah.
I think. So, one of the things that's funny, like, I end up watching a lot of TV, like I was talking about before, like whether it's on in the background, whether it's on when I'm walking around in the morning, whether it's on in the break room at work, whatever it is. I see a lot of TV. And most TV, I hate. I hate the fakeness of it. I hate the people presenting.
I got a list of some good stuff to watch.
Oh, no. I don't mean like the written, directed, produced TV shows. I'm talking more about like the network stuff that's around it, right? So the talk shows, the day shows, the morning shows, the bumpers, the news, the reality TV shows, in inverted commas, all that kind of stuff. I tend to walk past them when it's on. I can notice mistakes, irregularities, hypocritical stuff like that. Like someone, and it rankles with me. So the reason why I say that is if I put myself in your shoes, right? So I come off Jeopardy and da-da-da-da-da. But then all of a sudden there's all these shows, right, who want to like talk to you or have you on the show or you're going to be interviewed or whatever. Was there ever a part of you that was like, oh great, I mean, yes, I want the exposure, but at the same time, I don't want to go talk to that asshole. Or was there a lot of, were you embracing of all of it as you seem? And you have to name names. I'm not asking you to like torpedo assholes behind the scenes.
People reached out to me. And certain of them were really enthusiastic at first, and then it waned. And others maintained, sort of a champion mentality, and we remained close, and we're still working on things, right? And it's weird, to value loyalty, but not in a fealty way. Not like loyalty like you are beholden to me, but loyalty I think you got my back and I think I got yours. Because so many things are flash in the pan, oh, we want to talk to you, and then poof, they're gone, right? Jingly, jingly, jingly keys, sure. ADD. And it's you want to remain those who are interested in you will become interested in,
Yeah.
Those who are super enthusiastic and then wane, well, you didn't want to deal with them in the first place. You know what I mean? I don't know, it's really complex because there's so many things out there and so many people want a piece of you at first, and then you've got to winnow it down to those who are stable.
Yeah.
But then I think the biggest thing, unlike John Turturro in the movie, is you've got to be sanguine about the whole thing.
Right. You can't.
You got your paycheck.
Right.
You're walking out on a high note.
Right.
It's awesome to walk out on a high note.
Right.
The lights are on, you take a bow, you go off stage, and people have fond memories. It would be great to have a sequel or an encore.
Right.
If I don't have a sequel or an encore, I'm totally fine.
Yeah.
Do I want a sequel or an encore? Of course.
Right.
Am I working diligently towards one? Yes. Will I be disappointed when it doesn't pan out? Yes. Will I immediately move on? Yes.
Of course.
I won't.
But there's also
I'm not going to Sunset Boulevard it.
No.
Right? You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not going to be
in fact, we recently covered that on the show.
Oh, did you? Yeah. I'm not going to Sunset Boulevard it being oh, the net, or I'm not going to,
believe Mr. DeMille's going to call you any
or
minute.
Glenn Rossett. I'm just one more deal, and it'll turn around. I used to be the top salesman, and one more deal will turn it around, What if one more deal? Well, I don't need the one more deal. Do I want the one more deal? Yeah, but I'm not going to get kicked out of the street if I don't get the one more deal. I got paid. I'm happy. I still bartend. I'm happy. I got all the books I want. I'm happy. I could travel. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I bought a car. I'm happy.
Yeah.
If I get a TV show and a podcast and a book deal, and if I get a network appearance, and if I get this and I get that, if I get corporate sponsorship, these are all things I want. All things I'm working at, but all things that I know I never had before.
Right.
So why look to now?
Of course.
Now, eventually, you'd reach a point, say I have a TV show and a book deal, and then the show gets canceled and I don't get another one, and then the book is a flop and I don't get a chance to write another one. That's a different level of disappointment because you've already. That's a you lost a job disappointment.
Yes.
Right. And that's not a. I'm looking for a new job.
Right.
If I don't get it, I'm happy with the job I have. Right.
Right.
I mean that in both a metaphor and a literal sense.
No, I get it.
I'm looking for a new job.
Right.
But I'm really happy with my job right now.
Yeah.
But you want to advance. So I think that's John Turturro's failing. He thought the silver platter was his.
Yeah, he thought he
thought he was making them the money.
And he thought he was owed a job.
Yes.
He thought he didn't go out and get one.
I made you all the money.
Right.
Now you give it to me.
Right. And I think that's the other thing that he doesn't realize either in the movie, and in general what I think you handled very well in real life from having watched some of your post-Jeopardy appearances on Good Morning America and various other places, is that you want to appear to be, you want to say, yes, I was successful at this thing. Yes, I'm looking to continue to be successful. However, I'm not a massive arrogant douche who believes that I should be successful all the time and look at me.
Right.
Like, you have to be humble, right? It's like when you see actors show up on these chat shows and they make billions of dollars for doing ultimately very little, but they have to always, and quite rightly so, in a good
Some
society.
of them probably are.
Right? No, of course.
Yeah.
But then they have to say, like, oh, but it's all, the lighting guys make me look good, or the stuntman makes me look good, or whatever. And you should do that. Like, that's
Yes.
a good person if you do that.
Right. Well,
So,
that's just common decency.
Common decency.
You don't have to believe any of it,
Right.
but it's common decency if you want to continue to maintain a working relationship.
right, but it's also the dichotomy of on one hand, we're told to be, like, I'm constantly told, as someone from England who has a self-depreciating sense of humor, especially when I'm around my job, like, I'll make a joke, and I mean it as a joke. I don't genuinely feel this in my heart of heart, but I'll make some joke. I'll go, well, it's probably all my fault. We should blame me and wrap this meeting up, right?
Right.
Or whatever, as a joke, and I don't mean it. I've actually had people tell me, go, you really shouldn't make jokes like that. You should be more, like, positive about yourself.
Fuck off.
And
Fuck off.
what's interesting is there's always that
Wait. Have you ever met an English person before? They can't take compliments. They can't take criticism. They can't take anything.
Right. Except other people's countries. So,
Come on, imperialism.
yeah. We haven't known what to do since we gave it all back.
Those days have long passed. You're not getting another one. So
No, we're not. In fact, we're actually
you're getting a little
separating
smaller.
from.
Say bye to Scotland soon.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, well, not while we have the military and the pound.
By the way, Wales will never leave you.
Wales
Wales
doesn't
are like BFFs.
Wales doesn't care. Cornwall will leave before Wales does. I met some vehement Cornish people who were like, Cornwall was a place before England had. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, Cornwall, you're a little peninsula on the bottom. Like, fuck off. Swallowed a beard here. But no, so you have to have that belief in yourself, but you also have to have that
Measured expectations.
and a certain form of humility. And it was interesting that while you could be totally positive and open about your success, and play a little bit of that you were aware of what had happened to you.
Yeah.
You also seem to walk that line very well between the humility and the expectation. How difficult was that in reality, or is that just you just find it within that?
I was raised well.
Right.
I have good parents. We were raised with not much thinking that we had it all.
Right.
I didn't recognize that us driving like used 70s cars that would break down to get to school while my friends all had Audis, or my friends had homes with central air and atriums and were worth like $1.75 million, and then ours was a rental on public land. I didn't realize that everyone around me was wealthy, but everyone around me was wealthy.
Right. Well, it was like, I think the proudest I've ever made my parents, and this is kind of both a sad story and a positive story, considering I'm 38 and this happened when I was like 7. But I think the proudest I ever made my parents was one Christmas morning, and I remember this vividly. I had been clearly talking about, no, I think I was older than 7 or 8, maybe I was 10, or 9 or 10, but I had clearly been talking about getting a new sound system, and those like stack hi-fis were like all the thing back then, right? And I had a 10 pounds, meaning like 10 pounds sterling, record player that I had bought off my sister for 10 pounds with pocket money to listen to records off. And there was a box under the Christmas tree in the morning, and I thought, oh my goodness, it's a big box.
Here it is.
In the box were the speakers. And my dad said to me, I like opened them up and I was like, oh my God, new speakers. And my dad said
where's
to
the
me,
amplifier in this?
Right.
Yeah.
He said, I'm really sorry, son. We didn't have the money this year to like get you what you wanted, but we did get you new speakers for the record player. Explained this whole thing to me, right? And apparently I was like, I love them. I think it's great, or whatever. I was like really positive about it and stuff, even though obviously inside I was like, I want the nice shiny hi-fi, right?
Yeah.
Then he goes, much later, we open all our presents. He goes, much later. By the way, John, what's the Christmas tree sitting on this year? And like normally we used to have the Christmas tree on a table because it was a little fake plastic fold-out Christmas tree that we used to put on the table. And this year it was on a box. And I was like, oh, it's a box. He was like, go over and open it. And they got me the hi-fi, and it certainly wasn't like the top fucking level one.
Well, you want to see how you took getting the speakers.
Took getting the speakers, and it was probably the proudest I ever made them because I didn't.
Because you were like, this is great.
This is the best thing
This is
ever.
what you could do for me. This is great. Good
Right?
for you, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, I always remember that story as, like, one of those teaching moments. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things. It's a weird trick to play on a kid at Christmas, but it is what it is.
I mean, we were brats, but we weren't like... We weren't keeping up the Joneses brats. We were
Right.
I want that RC car. We want that RC car. We want that RC car. Eventually, our parents would buckle and get that RC car.
Right.
And like, probably cost them way too much money to get that RC car.
Right.
They probably didn't enjoy spending that, but they got it for us,
Yeah.
right? But we weren't like, I want that crazy thing that the neighbors have.
Right.
Because we just, I don't know, innately understood we couldn't get that crazy.
Yeah. And I always had to think, because my birthday's early February, that if I ever got anything that was like over a certain amount of money for Christmas, it had to do for Christmas and birthday.
Oh well, mine's Thanksgiving.
Right,
So
yeah,
like
the same.
mine was 1 month from Christmas. So it was like, you want two little presents?
Yeah.
Or you want the one big one for birthday? I'm like,
Yeah.
big one for birthday.
Yeah,
I'll take
yeah.
it now.
Yeah.
Time value of money, right?
Right?
You gotta get it in while you get it in. You know, 50 bucks cash now is worth more than $100 cash over 2 years. You know.
Yes. Oh no, definitely.
The After Movie Diner with Jon Cross will return right after this.
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
This podcast takes no shortcut in producing outstanding content. How they haven't become more widely recognized is beyond me.
I love this show. Smart commentary, in-depth interviews, and great production.
It's obvious how serious these guys take their podcast and bring that next level of professionalism that anyone would be hard-pressed to match.
There are few things better in life than listening to people who are both passionate and knowledgeable about their subject matter. The Projection Booth, with their wide and wild range of film discussions, is one of those things. Simple as that.
The Projection Booth is the highest quality film podcast around. I love the focus on cult films, witty, informative banter, and amazing interviews. The Projection Booth is the best podcast out there if you're a serious film lover.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
We'll do it live. F*** it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Hi, I'm Jay Mayo.
And I'm Marie.
Shut up!
I'm Marie.
Shut up!
I'm Marie Forster.
And we are co-hosts of Hold the Mayo podcast.
Hold the mayo.
Hold the mayo!
All right, give me ham on 5, hold the mayo.
We're two local comedians, and here on Hold the Mayo, we talk about all the different things that are going on in our daily lives.
Or in your case, your pathetic dating life.
Or in your case, your obsession with pizza.
Or in your case, you're Gatham for Statham.
Yeah? Well, at least I'm not obsessed with Guy Fieri.
At least I'm a gang leader.
No, you're not. You're just always trying to overthrow invisible gangs.
No, I'm cool in the gang.
No, you're... Oh, my God, the puns are the worst.
Mayonnaise, really? That stuff is for sandwiches.
Listen, you guys can find us all across the internet. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and everywhere else that podcast can be found. You can also find us all across social media. We're on Twitter at Hold the Mayo Pod, Instagram at Hold the Mayo Podcast, and of course, we have a Facebook fan page, facebook.com/Hold the Mayo Podcast.
Don't forget, you can also find Jay crying on his couch every single night.
Thank you so much.
F***ing thing sucks.
And just end it with a fart.
The Via VHS podcast is changing lives. Here's some testimonials. Bill from Tallahassee, Florida says, I was able to quit my job and get a Ferrari, just like Magnum PI. Sue from San Diego, California says, wow, it really helped with my crippling depression. Thanks, Via VHS. And Tom from Charlotte, North Carolina says, it cured my genital warts. Wow. Listen to the Via VHS podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play.
And now, here's your host, Jon Cross.
But yeah, so back to sort of the parallels between the movie and your existence. What else kind of came out from watching the movie again today that kind of struck a chord with you that we haven't discussed, if anything?
Well, to a lesser extent, like Ray Fiennes' cultural phenomena, you know, being mobbed by photographers
Right.
and blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying I'm mobbed by photographers, but I don't go a day without being recognized.
In fact, we were walking down here
We were
tonight.
walking down here, and a
which
guy
is
just
what,
stopped.
4 blocks from our apartment, 4 or 5 blocks,
And
whatever
a guy
it is.
just stopped and goes, Austin Rogers, really loved you on the show. I work for a TV company. Give me a call. So I
Right.
took his card.
Right.
We had to get here and
Right.
do the after movie diner.
And I had to. I'm sorry, you mentioned the podcast, which gave me an in to give me the card. Not
Yeah.
that I was hoping he's going to throw my card away,
Yeah.
and I don't
Ah.
expect him to do anything with it. But like, at least I was able to kind of be like, I have a card too.
Yeah.
Which is my phony ability of trying to be better than I am.
No, there's nothing un-English about unrealistic aspirational goals.
No,
wait, actually, no. You guys pretty much know when to stay where you're in your lane, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then feel really shitty when we apologize later on. But
yeah. So I can't go anywhere without
being
recognized. Okay, I got a good
Also,
one.
would you also say that there's something about quiz shows that even today, where audiences are split across multiple channels, streaming channels, etc., there's still something about something like a Jeopardy that goes out to so many people.
It is still appointment TV, if
Right.
that term makes sense to you,
Right.
Like, there's a couple things out there that are appointment TV. Like, everything else is on a oh, did you hear about such and such?
Right.
Yeah, you know, I've been recording it for 6 months. I haven't watched it yet. Don't tell me anything.
Yeah.
And then a week later, you see that person be like, I watched all 19 episodes. It was great, right? It's very much...
And they don't stream it anywhere. You can stream it on the app
Well, no.
like the night it streams, but you can't see past episodes. Like, I can't go back and watch your run again.
So you should get YouTube TV.
Right.
It is an immensely powerful platform.
Right.
You can watch live TV on 20 some odd networks, and you can record literally anything that those networks show. It's a little on the pricey side, but my God, dude, I
Could
love
I go
it.
back, for example, and watch your stuff?
You can't go back now,
Right.
but start moving forward.
Right.
You just press record on Jeopardy, and it's YouTube. It's there forever.
Right.
Every single episode, right?
Right.
Like,
but what I mean about like Jeopardy is
Okay,
worst
yeah,
comes to worst, I could go buy The Simpsons on DVD,
Yes,
right?
no,
Maybe
no.
not that recent
It doesn't.
episode, but I could go. Jeopardy is not sold anywhere. It's not streamed anywhere. It's not. You have to see it the night it's on.
not only, yes, unless you're DVRing it.
Right.
But yeah, so not only is it appointment TV, but it's ephemeral in the moment TV.
Yes.
It's almost like a news broadcast.
Yes.
It happened, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Like, unless you save the newspaper from that date, you know, because you're not recording the nightly news every night. You're not recording Jeopardy every night, which there's something refreshing about it that it's all up here.
Right.
It's in your memory.
And it's also that nostalgic feeling that you had when you first watched TV. When we watched our first TVs as young kids in the 80s, there was no recording it. I mean, except on VHS, but there was no.
Oh no.
There was no cable. There was no recording it. There
You
was
couldn't
no.
even record on VHS because it was coming over a terrestrial antenna.
Right.
The quality was so crappy, like you weren't even going to bother recording it.
Right.
Why would you even do that? you
Well,
know?
I used to record Kids in the Hall episodes at 3 a.m, but that was that was about it.
Okay, yeah. I didn't have cable growing up. I just had an antenna. So
Yeah.
sometimes the channel just wouldn't work. You
Right.
know? But
Oh yeah, and the UK just didn't have cable. It wasn't even a thing. The first thing we got was satellite dishes, which were like late 90s, and my parents never got those.
Yeah, my
so
town didn't get
I
cable.
never had satellite or cable for years.
my town didn't get cable till the early 90s, late 80s.
I had 4 channels, and then the funny thing was they brought in a 5th channel, Channel 5, and you could only get it in Birmingham and like pockets of the Midlands and London, I think. And so like when we went to relatives up north,
That was the
I would
novelty.
watch like Channel 5 for like 10 minutes
Right,
and be
like,
like, this
wow.
is shit. But we were happy with BBC 1, BBC 2, ITV, and Channel 4. That's what we were
So
happy
we had the same channels we have right now. CBS was Channel 2.
Yeah.
There was a CBS affiliate, Channel 3, which I think was from New Jersey. Channel 4, NBC. Channel 5, this is before it was Fox. It was WNYW.
Right.
And it was just runs of 70s blaxploitation movies.
Oh, fuck, that sounds amazing.
And it wasn't as much as it was cracked out to be.
No, you're not a fan of...
No, it was pretty shitty when you're a kid, and that's the only thing on.
Oh, okay.
7 was ABC.
I would love it.
7 was ABC.
Yeah.
8 was a Connecticut ABC affiliate, which was crazy because they aired Jeopardy at 2 different times.
Yeah.
So sometimes we'd watch one, other times we'd watch the other. Channel 9 was WWOR. Channel 11 was WPIX. Both of those were pretty much like WNYW number 5, which was they just ran shitty movies and honeymooners marathons
Right.
and the Yule log.
Yeah.
And then Channel 13 was PBS. Most of our time was spent on 4, 7, PBS.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless it was watching the Yankees or the Mets, which
Right.
were on 11 and 9.
Right.
Wait. On the being recognized thing, and on the Yankees and the Mets.
Okay.
All right. I went to opening day at Citi Field. Couldn't make it 5 feet. 5 feet without being recognized. Opening day, every 5 seconds. Outside the stadium, inside the stadium, online a concession, in the bathroom. Austin Rogers, Jeopardy guy. Were you on TV? It's the guy from Jeopardy. 5 minutes and 20 times in Citi Field, opening day. I've been to Yankee Stadium 4 times this year. Not recognized once.
No.
What's that say about Yankee fans?
Yeah.
And I'm
Sorry
a Yankees
about that.
fan.
I'm a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
I recognize you. You sat right here.
Yeah.
But it's funny because is that saying that they flat out don't recognize you because there's some class thing where they wouldn't watch Jeopardy or something, or are they not recognizing you because to come up to you and be like, "Hey, Austin," would seem too much for them? I don't know.
Oh, are the Mets fans like Gregorius louts?
No,
and
I'm
the
just
Yankees
saying.
fans are.
I'm saying you could look at it either way. I don't know. Like either way, you could look at it. I'm not making any judgments because I'm not in the experience of it. But like in the movie, obviously, like you were saying, like Ray finds this channel, like you're seeing in the 50s. There's only like 2 or 3 channels at the time.
Yeah.
So this is going out to like 50 million people, and nothing goes out to like 50 million people
And there's
anymore.
literally
except
nothing
like
else.
the
There's
Super Bowl, right?
Yeah,
That's
pretty
about
much.
it.
And there's literally nothing else on.
Right.
Because there's nothing else on.
Right, and it's funny because it's the same goes for like any of the things that were on BBC or BBC Two back like in the 60s.
Right.
The reason why Python had such an enormous following,
It was the
there
only
literally
thing
nothing
on.
else on that night, and it was certainly the only thing on that was anything like Python. So, but I feel like your run on Jeopardy. Obviously, the ratings went up for the show. Like you were definitely like a big rating boost for the show, right? That was kind of a known thing.
I mean, probably. I don't know.
I think it was a
ratings
known
were,
thing throughout.
Yeah, sure.
In general, but yeah, it touching that moment, and I think it yes, it was important for the positive hope thing that we spoke about earlier, but that doesn't happen much anymore. Even the Dancing with the Stars winner or the Bachelor contestant or whatever
No one remembers.
They're within their own network, like I say, within ABC, right, runs The Bachelor, does the thing. You see them syndicated. So very often when they've been on The Bachelor, they'll show up on Dancing with the Stars, they'll show up on JMA.
Right.
But like, and even though millions of people watch those shows, it feels like a very localized celebrity, even though lots of people watch the show. Whereas you did something where it was sort of people who would never normally mention Jeopardy, ever. Like it would never even be a thing on TV was suddenly mentioning Jeopardy because of you, and it became like a...
I mean, I went viral. Like legit viral. There's like YouTube tribute videos of me that have millions of views.
Right.
And like, it's really, really fucking weird. I don't know what it is. Something I do or how I behave resonates with way more people than I could ever imagine. And so there's this... It's not condescending. I know it's not condescending. So many of my friends are like, good for you. You deserve this. And I'm like, was I a wounded puppy beforehand?
Right.
Was I about
They
to
don't
be
mean it that way,
Was
but-
I about to be euthanized? But people will be like, of anyone to have this happen to, you're the most deserving of them all. I'm like, what was I beforehand?
I think what that's saying is that they don't resent you for your success. It's more about them, maybe. And I don't know your friend, so I'm not trying to make that assumption. But like, if Kim said that about you, for example, to me, like, oh, Austin deserves this. What she would mean is, yes, he was talented. Yes, he's creative. Yes, he's very good on camera, etc. But she would also be meaning like, it's not some guy that everyone fucking hates who suddenly struck it, right? It's some guy that people actually like in a day-to-day basis. They liked you beforehand, they'll like you after. They don't think the success is going to go to your head.
I
think that's what it means.
Maybe
That's how I would
not
take it.
English in me that can't take that. I can't take that one very well.
Right.
Like everyone's like, oh, congratulations. I'm like, I could take that. And like, you must be really happy. I'm like, I'm quite happy, right? But the you deserve this. That one always just I can't take that one. I don't know why. There's just something about the phrasing of it that just irrs me.
Yeah, it's I guess the word deserve is never. It's never a particularly good word,
right?
And it does intimate that you somehow struggled for years and years and years, and then suddenly.
Which, by the way, I did, but that's none of your fucking business.
Right.
And also, by the way, I was more or less content in that struggle.
But people say it to me about Kim. They go, "Oh, you finally got what? Like you deserve a relationship."
See,
like
I wouldn't
Kim.
say that. That sounds pretty shitty.
Right. Well, no, it just means that I had a series of really shitty relationships.
Right. Yeah, we all did.
Right.
Well, I wouldn't say that like you deserve Kim.
No, I don't.
I might say like
she certainly doesn't deserve me.
Well, that's true. That's factual. That's 100%. That's 100%. That's 100% true.
That at all.
Here's a.
She deserves better than me. Is what I was.
Well, that's what I'm going with. There's definitely a clear dichotomy here, and there's a winner and a loser here.
Oh, it is. I'm winning hands down. Hands down.
Kim got the short straw.
Oh, definitely. Shorter than you might think.
Oh, there we go. But if I said, I'd say something like, holy shit, you guys are great together, right? I wouldn't say you deserve this, and just the way it comes across, you deserve this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Now I get a different variation on that, which is like the tongue-in-cheek sort of eye roll, like this was pretty inevitable, wasn't it? And I'm like, well, actually, that one I'll take. I'll take that one. There was something inevitable about me doing something like this.
Right.
Because everyone knows I know my shit. Everyone knows that trivia is my thing. Everyone knows that I can be both I'm a know-it-all, but I'm never pedantic about it. Unless you're really wrong, in which case I'm going to be fucking pedantic about it, right?
I imagine if someone was in a bar mouthing off being an arrogant swine and was completely wrong.
Oh, I'll shut them down.
Yeah.
But if someone's like,
because those people deserve to be shut.
I think that blah, 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 I'd be like, okay, that's cool. So I think it's blah, 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 and here's why. Well, let me hear yours, right? That would be
Do you know one of the biggest... This will tell you a lot, like, about what I consider growing up to be. Growing up is defined like this. Growing up is when someone says to you at a certain point in your life, hey, you've seen that movie, right? And it's a movie you should have seen. Godfather 2, fucking Apocalypse Now, whatever, like Taxi Driver, something. But like one of the, Gone with the Wind, right? You've seen that movie, right?
And what do you say?
And when you're younger, you get nervous. You want to appear to be better than you are. And you go, I've seen that movie. And then you try and blag your way through it, right?
Yeah.
Growing up is going, no, I haven't. Tell me about it. Like, that's growing up.
You're right.
Is admitting that you don't need to have seen everything. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to... Like, the fact that... I have seen it, but like the fact that someone might not have seen Gone with the Wind doesn't make them a good or bad person, doesn't make them a well-read, well-intelligent, well-watched, whatever.
I don't remember Gone with the Wind.
Right.
I got nothing.
And frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I know I've seen it.
Right.
I don't think I've ever seen it straight through, but I know I've seen every single component of that movie.
Right.
But
that's what I mean. The intelligence level or the growing up level or whatever it is, the being mature is being able to go, no, I don't. Why don't you tell me about it?
Yeah. Or should I go do that? Or
Right.
should I blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about me when I was younger. I probably did blag my way through a bunch of stuff, but
of course. We all do. Also, there's also something inherently male on that, too.
There is, yeah.
Because you wouldn't be challenged by a girl, have you seen Terminator 2? That was a big one. Have you seen Terminator 2? Of course.
Right.
No, they hadn't.
Right. Well, it's the high fidelity scene, isn't it? And where he says, what would you say if someone says, I haven't seen Evil Dead 2 yet, right? And he immediately goes, I would think you were a Neanderthal and you had no cinematic taste or whatever it was, right? The joke about that scene is they then go on to get Evil Dead 2 completely wrong and actually reference Army of Darkness, which drives me nuts as an Evil Dead fan, because I'm like, really? You're going to reference Evil Dead 2 and then get it wrong?
Maybe that was the joke.
No, because the whole point of the joke is, well, maybe the joke is, but then the joke would only work if you set that up to be the joke. The whole point is they're setting themselves up to be snobs.
Right.
Now, it is Jack Black who's the idiot snob, but he still knows the stuff. It's not... So, yeah, it drives me nuts that you would write that scene in, especially as it's not from the book. I believe in the book it's Reservoir Dogs. Yeah. So, anyway, I don't know what this has to do with anything. So, Quiz Show the movie. People should rediscover it, right? I feel like it's one that was a classic at its time. Like, it came out in the 90s where there was a lot of those, in fact, weirdly, on the VHS we saw a lot of Miramax Oscar hopefuls, right?
Yeah.
A lot of costume dramas, a lot of...
Ivory
right.
Sense and Howard's End.
Yeah.
Howard
and this got beat out by, like, Forrest Gump, right?
Okay, so 94 is one of the worst years ever.
Right.
Because you got Quiz Show.
Yeah.
You got Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
You got 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Shawshank Redemption.
Right.
And they were all beat by fucking baby boomer jerk-off material,
right.
Forrest Gump,
yeah.
Which is basically a soundtrack
attached to... I was just about to say that,
attached to... Well, the soundtrack, by the way, everyone knew every fucking song.
Yeah.
Attached to really questionable mental health portrayals, disease portrayals, racial portrayals. Like, that movie, oh God, that movie's really bad. Oh, that's one of the worst. I mean, I'm trying to think of a worse movie that everyone loves other than Forrest Gump. I mean, it is just a fucking terrible. It is I would love to come back here and just talk.
Just rip Forrest Gump a new one?
No, you know what? It would be worthless because it would just be a 2.5 hour string of profanities on how much I can't stand that movie and how much. All right, so not to go back to the high fidelity, but like, do you like Forrest Gump? And someone goes, yeah, and I go, I don't think we're gonna get along.
No, it's difficult to.
Oh God, I'm gonna be a dick on the other end. Also, Shawshank Redemption is good, but it's not the 99.999 IMDb and 350% Rotten Tomatoes rating.
No.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
But I think
it's a pulp prison drama.
Right. It's like.
And it's well acted pulp prison drama, but it's pulp prison drama.
Tim Robbins is great, but we've got Morgan Freeman as the wise mystic black man, right?
Right.
And it's over narrated. I hate narration, or most of the times I hate narration. I mean, it's good, but it's not the be all end all.
No.
But just right there, we got Pulp Fiction, which is groundbreaking. Now it's hard to watch Pulp Fiction without both the stains of Quentin Tarantino's behavior, the stains of the Weinsteins, and the stain that it's been so cliched now.
Yeah.
But Pulp Fiction...
I saw that when I was 14 at a midnight screening with my older brother. He snuck me in because it was an 18. And that remains one of the coolest moments, like, in my cinema-going experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was unlike anything I'd ever seen up until that point.
And it still sort of is.
Because I was 14. And that music comes on with a... And you're just like, wow, this is nailing me to the back of the cinema.
And the giant red font.
Yeah.
And then 4 Weddings and a Funeral is just great. It's just great.
It is.
It's just great.
It is.
It's great. It's great without being like Notting Hilly. You know what I mean?
But also, weirdly,
that's why
one of the very first one of the very first depictions of a happy gay couple without it being like, oh look, they're gay and happy, by the way. Look how gay and look how happy they are.
Or they're gay and one of them's going to die.
Right, right. It was just, they were just another couple.
They were just gay. They were just gay.
Right, but it was just in the movie.
Actually, it was just
and
a couple. Yeah.
No one ever fucking commented on it. It was just in it, and we were all fine with it.
Yeah. So that's why 1994, quiz show is incredibly acted.
Yeah.
Incredibly tautly scripted.
Yeah. Fantastic cast.
Great cast.
It could lose about 20 minutes in its running time.
Just enough to keep you on edge because it's got a little bit of suspense. I don't think it's particularly amazingly shot, but it's competent.
No, it's not. What's interesting?
It's competent.
What's interesting about it
is
workmanlike. Well, you don't notice the direction, meaning you don't notice the direction. So in other words, like, it's not a movie where, I don't know, like a Raimi or a Fincher or a Nolan or a Spielberg
where
or
the camera's
whatever,
a person.
Where you're aware of it. Like everyone goes on about J.J. Abrams and the lens flare, right? And Spielberg and the lens flare. The thing that drives me absolute fucking nuts about people who go out of it, because J.J. Abrams actually had a DP on set who actually put mirrors up so they could get more lens flare. And that's absolutely true. In Star Trek, he actually put fucking light mirrors and glass around the set so that he could bounce it off so he could have more lens flare. That's admitting there's a camera in the room. Because I'm not sat here and I'm not getting lens flare, you know what I mean? I'm getting a slight refraction through the glass of the diner, but that's about it.
So it's
actually a bad technique. It's actually a technique that shouldn't exist.
Let me walk it back when I said not particularly well shot. Because that sounds backhanded.
Right. There's only one showy shot in the whole thing,
and that is the iconic
focus
marquee shot of the earmuffs,
right,
or the earphones.
But I also feel like, and it doesn't do what Good Night and Good Luck does. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Good Night and Good Luck.
Well, we've got this,
but it has the black and white,
and we've got like the microphone in isolation
with the smoke,
and then the cigarette comes up, and then the mouth leans to the camera is shooting that.
Right.
So actually, maybe Redford did an amazing job because, again, you see movies that are shot like plays.
Right.
This is not shot like a play.
No.
But it's not shot like a film.
No.
A film.
What's weird about it is that you're watching it and you're like, it's definitely a film and it's definitely a Hollywood film. However, it also feels incredibly naturalistic. Now, people don't talk over each other in the same way that, like in Woody Allen movies, people talk all over each other all the time, and it becomes
doing the fucking Aaron Sorkin walk and talk. Yeah.
Right. However, you think of that dining table scene in the back garden where the father's Doran's father's birthday.
He does a stanza,
and
someone throws a quip.
But there's little jokes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel written. It feels natural. It feels like your family or my family or someone's family sat around and they have their little in-jokes and they have their little in-reaction.
But it's also clearly shot because it's audible.
Right.
Because it's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
The old guy's at the front. You know, like it's got, it's got...
But it's played well, acted well. I can't get over the fact that Rob Morrow, who played the lead guy, doesn't go off and have like a mad leading guy career. I mean, not to knock him, he's clearly done a lot of work in TV and film, and I'll definitely be looking at his stuff, but you go to his IMDb and it's not like this followed by a string of,
Oscar-worthy.
Because I would have, like, going back to 1994, out of those movies we've mentioned, and it's not to say I don't love the performances in Four Weddings and Pulp Fiction, but this lead performance, I would be giving it to this guy in terms of any awards go. Even Ralph Fiennes, who doesn't have the showy role, he has the least showy role in the whole movie, despite being the thing that the movie is ostensibly about in terms of the thing. He doesn't have the, like, nebbish, crazy thing that Turturro can do. He doesn't have the, like, smarmy, sleazy, manipulative thing that the
producer,
Hank Azaria and the other guy can do. He just has to be this little,
proper,
strawberry blonde-haired, waspy professor guy.
The foil.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what?
And he was 32 when he did the role.
And he just got off of Schindler's List.
Really?
Yeah.
So, wow, he must have lost all that weight there, because he put loads of weight on to play Goethe.
Well, we don't know what the shooting order was.
Right.
But Schindler's List was the year before, I believe.
Is it? Is it 93?
So,
I'll take your word for it. I'm not good with years of stuff.
Or the year... No, year before. It was Schindler's List was the year before. So
does he does English Patient after this?
Yes,
English
Patient's like 96 or something like that.
That was his big Oscar thing, and that's another Miramax movie.
Well, I think, didn't he win a supporting actor Oscar as Amon Geth in Schindler's List?
Did he?
I don't know.
I mean, he got a lot of nods, like he was the standout.
Yeah, because he was fucking evil.
Yeah.
Anyway, no.
I have big problems with that movie as well, but not Forrest Gump problems. But
I got problems with it too. We'll talk about that on a later day. No, this
we should have a show. Austin and Jon have problems with that.
Well, let me tell you about the soup. Quiz show.
Yeah.
24 years later.
Yeah. 25th year next year.
Yeah.
Well worth watching. Well worth checking out. Well worth.
Relevant. Still relevant.
Very relevant.
It's about TV fixing your perception and picking a winner, even though America shouldn't pick winners.
Right. Well, it's not only that. If you think about it, and I'll say, I said the thing about the news. The news is not as restricted as quiz shows are. But look at the quote-unquote reality TV shit of the world. People are being sold something that some people truly believe is just a camera in a room filming a bunch of people, and yet it's scripted, edited, produced, directed. They have multiple cameras, multiple stuff. Like, it's so fake. It's ridiculous.
Speaking of the camera is a character.
Right.
The camera is more a character in a modern Kardashian show than it was in Quiz Show.
Right.
The camera is a fly on the wall in Quiz Show. The camera is a character in the Kardashian show.
So I always quote this, but like, The Bachelor was on, and I saw some clip of The Bachelor where he was hugging goodbye to someone at a limousine or whatever before they got sent off or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Right? And obviously I'm a film guy, so I kind of know. So they're filming it from behind the woman, right? And she's hugging him and he's whatever, right? And the car's to the left of them, right? And then suddenly the camera is over the other side behind him shooting the same thing, right? And I'm like, oh, wait, so they edited that. And Kim was like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if they were shooting two cameras at the same time over each other's shoulders, you'd see the cameras.
At each other, yeah.
Right? You don't see the camera. And she goes, oh, yeah. So I said, what that means is...
Do it again.
They filmed the hug.
Do it again.
They broke apart. They went, that was wonderful. Do it exactly like that again, and let's film it.
Do it again.
That's not reality. That's...
Yeah. No. That's cut. Let's have another take.
Yeah. So we are being sold a lemon with the news not being factual anymore, but being mostly opinion. We're being sold reality TV, which is faker than TV that's actually scripted.
And I can tell you from my experience on game shows, they're real. Cash Cab, been on it, real. How it happens is how it happens. One or two retakes, but that's just him reading the question. Jeopardy, as it happens, is exactly how it happens, because even Jeopardy, if they need a retake, he does a live cut during the commercial break. Everyone goes quiet on set, and he'll just reread a question, plug that audio in live right there, and send the file out.
So I'm glad you brought it up. The last thing I think we should talk about, if you've got still more time.
I do.
We didn't talk about Shooter McGavin, Chris McDonald, your personal friend, who plays the host of the show. And we also didn't talk about the person I think that everyone is most fascinated with, second to you in your story, and that's Alex Trebek.
Okay.
Who seems to go... What's interesting, just from knowing now that it's all shot, like 5 episodes are shot in one day, is that watching it throughout the week, right, it looks like Alex goes from like, oh, this guy's driving me nuts, to like being your pal by the end of the week and kind of understanding where you're coming from.
Because you did spend a whole business day with him.
Right.
You know, you spent a whole business day with him.
Right.
Like, you know, if you went and had a meeting with someone for half an hour at 11:30 a.m. and then you never saw them again,
right,
that's the end of it. But if you had a meeting with a guy, like if you were at a corporate conference, for example, and you saw this guy at 11:30, then 12:30, then 1, and then at 2:30 and at 3:30, and you saw this guy 5 times throughout the conference for a half hour apiece, just because you're rotating through the same rooms in the conference or in the same seminars, yeah, you're going to get to know the guy, right?
But obviously between each episode shooting, there's a time for him to go change his suit, you go change your clothes, whatever. Do you think, or do you know, that, let's say after the second episode or whatever, and he's finally kind of getting to know who you are, right? Other people would call it a shtick, but like your thing, what you're going to be on the show, right? How you're going to be on the show. Do you think at one point he's talking to the producer and saying like, so how am I with this guy? Am I how I've been, or do I change, or do I whatever? Do you think he has that, or was it organic as far as you're aware?
I cannot
fully answer.
I cannot answer that for 2 reasons. One, I don't know how often the producers are in his ear.
Right.
He's a veteran. He might just make his own shit up.
Right.
I mean, I know he gets the cards on his talking points, but often he deviates from them on his whim.
Right.
And that's what makes good TV. The producers say, be wary of that.
Right.
Or no, not be wary of it, but here's the 10 questions that you said were your talking points. He might ask some of them. He might not.
Right.
Be ready.
Right. He's Trebek. He's a wild card.
Yeah. Well, he is. But and then the producers themselves, from your experience, they're like, just get out there and be yourself. They don't tell you to modify your behavior unless you're swearing all the time, which was one of my problems.
Right.
I was swearing all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And they grab me. Maggie would grab me. She'd be like, all right, Austin, what are the rules? And I go, category then dollar value. And she goes, what's the other rule? And I go, stop fucking swearing. She's like, stop fucking swearing. Get it out of your fucking system now. And I'm like, fuck, shit, piss, cunt, you know, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, is it out of your system? Like, it's out of my system. She's like, all right, be yourself, get up there. And what did I say? I'm like, no swearing. She's like, no swearing.
Because it seemed like by the end of your run that Alex and you were like genuine buds. Like there was a nice...
We've now spent 3 whole days together, you know?
Right.
But not 3 whole days. We've spent 20 minutes together.
Right.
12 times over 3 days.
But there was like a nice... What was interesting about it, there's also like that nice story arc between the Trebek we're used to, because I think as much as you surprised America on the game show, you also surprised Trebek, because he's used to dealing with, like we talked about at the beginning, a certain like cliche contestants they get week in, week out, right?
Right.
Then he's got to suddenly be like, and not the first time in however long he's hosted.
It happens, yeah.
But the first time in a few years that he's now got to be like, oh wait, I've now got to actually do something that's different to what I'm sure he gets wind of, like, or gets a feeling like, not to call other contestants, you know, shirking flowers, but like some of them he could probably say something snide and tongue-in-cheek, right? And
they'd be like, no.
Oh, he's been quite ruthless with a few people,
right?
There's actually clips of him.
And you've seen certain people be like their tiny dreams are shattered because they've always wanted to be on the show, and they just got negged by Trebek, right?
Trebek nailed him.
And me, like, I think you could probably tell that I got pretty thick skin.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm going to give as good as I can take. So, like, if you throw a curveball at me, you're going to leave that hanging, and I'm going to jack it out of the yard. You know, I'm going to take it down pretty hard, right? Don't leave a curveball hanging around me. Right. Come at me with your high heat, right? Yeah. And I think he got it, that he could come at me with a high heat. So then we got a little, you know, I'm not a spring chicken. I do stand-up. I host trivia, blah, 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 blah. I've been on stage half my life. Yeah. So if you come at me, I could come back, right? So I think you get a feeling. You can get the feeling of that from anyone within, like, you know, you're behind the bar and you're bartending, and, you know, there's this girl who'll be like, you know, hey, you. And, you know, she's not being rude. She's being playful. Hey, you. Give me a vodka soda. And be like, go fuck yourself. She's like, no, go fuck you. And you can get that vibe, you know? Right. And I think we got that vibe, like, pretty much immediately.
Yeah, because I was wondering if he was going to be frosty with you, like, the whole thing. Not that he was, okay, again, I'm trying to make more of it maybe than it was. Not that he was like super frosty, but like you could tell he was Trebek of a certain way at the beginning of your run, and he warmed to you. Is all I mean.
But also, you're seeing.
I'm seeing it over a week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is happening in the course of 3.5 hours, right? So people play out these narrative story arcs that didn't actually happen because it's like, hi, I just saw you 15 minutes ago. Hi again.
Yeah.
I just saw you a half hour ago. Hi again, right? So that's the beauty of television, that you can apply these sort of made up narratives to something that didn't happen. And that's great, because now you get invested in it.
Right, but it's also kind of fascinating. Like when I think the thing that was fascinating to me when I first spoke to you about it was finding out that I knew it wasn't taped live and it didn't go out like at 7 p.m. or whatever. But I didn't know that they did 5 fucking episodes a day.
Right.
Like that puts a whole new... That's like the fact that blows my mind.
And that's what continually blows my mind, when the product that they assemble is so good that it allows people to not even suspend belief because they're not even in on the joke that it's all filmed in one day. Right? So people will be like, man, by day 2, you guys were getting along. Day 3, you're like hugging each other. I'm like, no, that was 11:45 in the morning.
Right.
I just saw them at 10:30 and 10:15.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? So, and that always surprised me that the Jeopardy product is so well assembled that people can apply these emotions and arcs to something that never actually happened.
Right.
They craft the show so well, and the format is so well done that, and the way the week progresses, like when he's like, yesterday was a crazy day. I'm like, you mean before lunch?
Right? Yeah.
And it's a testament to how skillful they are, that everyone feels that they're watching this evolution of a character, which is actually just 2 people who barely know each other seeing each other 3 times in 45 minutes.
Yeah,
right?
and no one is ever going to give Trebek an Oscar, but look at the man. He's doing wonderful work, day in, day out.
Yeah.
No one ever gives him the credit.
Yeah.
He just gets Celebrity Jeopardy, Will Ferrell, the rest of his life.
Right.
That's what he gets. But no, fascinating, man. Absolutely fascinating. So I'm sure everyone listening to this and who have made it this far will be interested to know what we can glean from you before you leave. What's next for Austin Rogers? And also follow it up with where they can find you if you want to be found.
Sure. So I'm on Twitter at Austin Tylerro, AustinTylerro, Austin Tyler Rogers minus the GERS. And I'm on Instagram at Augra27, AUGRA27. Do not go to Austin Tylerro at Instagram, because that's an imposter. That's how crazy my life is. There are Instagram and Twitter imposters of me.
How crazy your life is, and I won't mention a name or anything else, and I don't want to necessarily expand on it.
Yeah.
But while we're watching Quiz Show,
you received a phone call.
I received a voicemail on my After Movie Diner telephone number from someone trying to get hold of you.
And to that someone, if you happen to be listening, you should know who you are. You can Google where I work. It's literally the first thing that comes up.
Yeah, so you have to do way more digging to find my
your
Google
phone number than just Google where I work.
Yeah.
It's literally the first thing that comes up.
Yeah.
Like me and bar, and it's where I work.
Yeah. So it was insane.
It's psychotic.
The movie finishes, I check my phone, I have this voicemail.
And by the way, we're not making fun of you or anything. We just think it's really crazy.
Yeah.
But you know where I work. And now you know my Twitter and my Instagram.
Does that scare you, though?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, good.
So at the bar, so what am I up to? I still maintain my bartending job at Gaff West on 48th and 9th Avenue.
Great bar, stop on in.
A true local. I still host trivia on Mondays at the Brazen Head on Atlantic Court in downtown Brooklyn. I still host trivia on Wednesdays at the Wayland on 50th and 10th in Manhattan. Everyone, please come on by. You're more than encouraged to. If you made it this far, well, fuck, you better come. And I am going to maintain my job bartending until one or more of these maybe amazing, maybe ephemeral, maybe halfway between the two opportunities arise. And like I said to Jon right now, if these opportunities don't arise, I'm still pretty damn happy in life, and everything's pretty okay. And then finally, depending on what leaderboard you look at, I'm either 4th or 5th all-time in the history of Jeopardy! So whenever there is a Super Champions tournament, which they do every 5 or 6 years or so, they call it like the Legends or the Century or the Millennium or the All-Stars or the Super Dopes or whatever. Whenever that comes up, I'm going to be on it. So you guys will see me. Maybe you'll see me on your regular TV. Maybe you'll see me on Jeopardy. Maybe you'll hear me in a podcast. So follow me on those venues, and hopefully we'll go on an adventure together. If not, come and have a drink with me and listen to me yell at you for being stupid at trivia nights. Either way, I'm going to have fun. Jon, thank you so much for having me here.
Austin, this was an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for being on the show. It was a really great episode. It's going to edit together really well, and it's going to be a fascinating... We did exactly what I wanted to do. We traced the movie and traced your, interesting career and life over the last 8 months.
Unscriptedly.
Completely unscriptedly. And that was wonderful, and it was fantastic. And I do hope you'll come back and we'll do just a regular movie that doesn't have to do with you. We can just talk about how shit Forrest Gump is for 2 hours. But
Cool.
This has been a real pleasure, man. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
And thanks so much for coming to the Kellogg's Diner. It's one of my favorites. Now let's get the chat. Well, how about that, ladies and worms? That was tremendous. Thanks ever so much, Austin, again, for being on the show. It was a real pleasure to talk to you and a real pleasure to rediscover the 1994 classic quiz show. Do check that out. To play us out on this episode, it is a cut from Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures' new album, Former Glory, which is available on Bandcamp at miskplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com and is also available on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Pandora, Deezer, wherever music is found. Google Play, look up Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures and the album Former Glory. Give them a listen, give them a buy, do whatever you need to do. All the money gleaned from that will support the After Movie Diner in the future. Anyway, hope you enjoy this track off the album. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, so clear off. And until next time,